What is going on, guys? It is Maskman here, and welcome back to the Tiger Night Casino, but it's not a chatter day. That's right, it's a random Thursday video, but not quite random, because like I said, as soon as E3 was done, I was planning to go ahead and talk about how I felt about E3. And I've really wanted to make this after all the press conferences came out, because I felt like I had some words to share. So, instead of making like individual videos about each press conference, I decided I'm gonna make one fairly large video. It's probably hopefully not going to be too long. I feel like I've kind of dumbed things down, where I'm just going to go ahead and give basic grades and summaries to most of the press conferences, except for one. Now, I don't grade the PC gaming show because that's not really a press conference. It's got a very different format from all the other press conferences. It's got, you know, the same guy on the stage. He'll bring out the developers. It's more of a advertisement Q&A than anything else, so I don't really want to grade that. And I'll give an honorable mention to Devolver Digital for their mock press conference. Can't really grade that because it wasn't a press conference, but kudos to them for doing what they did because that was phenomenal to say the least. But let's go to the actual press conferences. So, because I'm going to spend so long spending time on the last one, I'm going to go from highest grades to lowest grades, and I figured to tie them both together, Microsoft and Sony, I give those both A's. I'm gonna kind of mix them together because they had both a few too many games to just go over and talk about. This would end up being a half-an-hour video, but both of them shared a large slew of titles, showed a mix of trailers, and showed gameplay for games. I feel like Microsoft did a little better than Sony, not by much. Part of that is on Microsoft was able to somehow snag certain games from their developers conferences, such as Assassin's Creed Origins was snagged from Ubisoft to have the main gameplay be showed on EA, and then they also snagged Anthem away from EA to show on theirs. I think that's a lot of the developers teaming with Microsoft because they wanted to show off the Xbox One X, because I'm sure the developers are going to benefit from that as well. So being the Xbox One X, they managed to snag it away from both Sony and the developers themselves. But that, and then when it came to Sony, they kind of teased a lot of things away that were expected this year. I think I said that wrong. It's more along the lines, you know, everyone came this year expecting, oh, we're going to hear news about The Last of Us Part 2. We're going to hear news about Kingdom Hearts 3. We're going to hear news about Death Stranding. But they didn't show any of those three titles. They ended the press conference like everyone's like, we'll talk about our greatest Sony exclusive title. And they showed off Spider-Man. Nothing wrong with Spider-Man. I mean, obviously that game actually looks great, but it's not what people were expecting. When the press conference ended, I had to laugh watching all the people sitting there wondering when they were gonna put like Death Stranding or The Last of Us or anything else on the screen that they were expecting, and they didn't. They still showed a lot of good things, but they kind of, I guess it's kind of better to say they kind of hurt other people's expectations, other people thinking they were gonna see these certain titles when none of those were shown. When Microsoft, really all that was missing was Halo, but I'm getting tired of seeing Halo every goddamn year, so I think they went well. Obviously Microsoft announced the Xbox One X, the new system, officially announced at $499. They really pushed 4K throughout the conference, but it's understandable with that being the highest part of their new console. Obviously, for anyone that has a 4K TV that plays games that doesn't really want to have to deal with PC, Xbox One X looks like it's gonna be a great thing for those people that are serious about games, but serious about console gaming and don't want to spend the money on a PC. You know, everything is kind of utilized to work better on that console than it would on PC. So Microsoft and Sony both did very, very well for themselves. Let's go over next. Ubisoft, I went ahead and there's no B's in this list. I kind of dumbed it down to A, C, and F. Ubisoft, they got a C. They did a lot better than previous years, that's for damn sure. I was pretty sad they didn't have Aisha Tyler out there because she usually gets rid of some of the cringe factor, but I feel like they did fairly well without her this year. Obviously, there was the downside of the obligatory Just Dance segment that they have every year that I wish they'd fucking stop, but it's one of their big things and it makes them money. They're pandering to the wrong demographic when they put that out there, just like something I'll talk about for EA next. But when it comes to some of the bad things that Ubisoft put out there and spent some time on, number one, there was no mention of For Honor, which they pushed so heavily last year. For Honor was going to be their massive game, but all of a sudden after its launch, they just seemed to not care about it anymore. They even focused on Steep, which is a game that's almost dead in the water as soon as it arrived. And then they focused on Starlink, otherwise known by the chat as No Man's Skylanders, which I thought was fucking hysterical because it's, you build a ship with toy parts and it pops up in the game and it's a space thing, and I'm just like, oh god, this looks like a horrifying idea. But they're going with it, so kudos to them. But other than that, I mean, Ubisoft also had some great things. They had a good focus on South Park, had an official release date for that. I'm hoping if they don't push that back. They showed their new game Skull and Bones, which looks like a great pirate sea fighting game. Far Cry 5, they showed some of that. It looks as good as you expect a Far Cry game to look, and that's great, to be honest. And then they also surprised everyone at the end with Beyond Good and Evil 2. I did not play the first game yet. I've been interested in it for a while. I feel like if I had played that trailer would have gotten to me just like it did everyone else that was surprised as shit. And it was nice seeing the developer care about the game and get teary-eyed there, because it shows you that this is a passion project that they've worked on for some time and not just something that Ubisoft pumped out. So that should be very good going forward. So Ubisoft, they get a C. Going next, we'll go with EA. I felt like they got a C as well. They stuck right in the mood you expect Ubisoft to. Like I said about wrong demographic, like they do every year, they have a large focus on their sports games. I understand those make them a lot of money. A lot of people buy the FIFA games, a lot of people buy the Madden, and a lot of people buy, I think they brought back NBA. I don't think they had that for a while. I think something like that, I don't know. But they always spend so much time focusing on that. But they gotta realize that it's not their sports demographic that's really watching EA, or watching the EA press conference. So they should probably not spend as much time as it. I felt like they actually spent less time this year, which was pretty good. So those moved along pretty quickly compared to the previous years where that took up almost half of their conference sometimes. Those were always bad, but other games they announced, the new Need for Speed Payback, I'm excited for that. Feel bad for that YouTube guy, I think his name's Jesse, I think he does like the prank versus one of those prank channels, but he had the worst flub that you could ever imagine having on that stage. Feel bad for that poor fucking guy, but he played off like a champ. So kudos to him. They showed off Battlefield 1 DLC to be expected. And the great thing that I thought was when they announced A Way Out, it's a game made by the developers of Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. I fucking loved that game, and A Way Out looks fantastic. I'm gonna be playing it with fucking someone as soon as that comes out. I've been talking to Joe about it, so I might play with him here soon. Well, here soon when that game comes out. And then EA spent a large portion of their press conference on Battlefield. They had, Battlefront 2. They have to have multiple fucking battle games that look and play almost the same. It's just different characters on there. But Battlefront 2 looked good. They addressed the issues that they had with the original Battlefront, and that it was hardly a game when it first came out, so it's going to have more launch content. It's going to have more free updates, as well as the paid DLC, because it's EA, so what do you expect? A weird thing was they talked so much about the story and the story mode they added onto it, but they didn't really show anything of it. They just moved straight on to the multiplayer after that. And then they did the thing where they have the half an hour of gameplay, just like they did with Battlefield 1 last year. Except this time they picked people that actually know how to play games and not just random celebrities off the street that they paid to come play their game, like Snoop Dogg smoking a blunt in the middle of EA. That probably pissed off some EA execs, which is why it didn't happen this year, but they fixed that this time. So EA, right in the middle of the C. And Nintendo, I thought they got a solid C as well. They showed the usual Nintendo IPs. They talked about Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild DLC. They talked about the new Metroid game, new Monster Hunters. They announced Rocket League on the Switch with... They also mentioned the fact that they use that as a way to jumpstart the fact that Rocket League's going to get cross-platform play between all the consoles except for PS4, because PS4 is being fucking Sony because they're weird. I can't even explain it for them, but they announced that. And then their weird Super Mario Odyssey game. I'm sure a lot of people are going to love it. I find it a very strange thing to just have a living hat that you throw and become random objects. Oh, I've stopped fucking rolling the wheel. I should probably play the fucking game. God, I don't know how long I've stopped the wheel for. I hope it wasn't too long, because otherwise I've just have no gameplay this whole time. Shit. But other than that, the Nintendo conference was exactly what you'd expect. They kind of showed to the audience that has the Switch already. They didn't really do anything to encourage new Switch users, I feel. Maybe that's a good thing because no one can seem to fucking find a Nintendo Switch anymore right now. So we'll see when that market comes back up again. But you know, I was looking forward to the Nintendo conference because I wanted more reasons to look forward to buying a Switch. Because I don't want to have to hunt down a console for what it has right now. So I was hoping to see some new things announced for it that would make me want to go get it. I didn't really see anything that would have me go. I feel about the same as the Switch, really. It's like, you know, it's an interesting console. If it was readily available, I'd think about getting it. But on the side, I wouldn't really go out of my way to pick it up as if it's a must-need thing for me. But they're focusing on the audience that has it all, so it makes sense. Everything's hunky-dory. Of course, I trip on this thing. So Nintendo, solid C. Now, even though I've only been talking for about 11.5 minutes, this video is going to go to 20 minutes now because we're going to talk about Bethesda. When Bethesda first started the press conference a couple years ago, they had a great first press conference. They announced Fallout 4, they showed off gameplay for it, talked about it, they went into depth about everything that they needed to. They had one of the best press conferences that year when they had it. And they set a bar for developer press conferences, and I was like, good deal on you, Bethesda, turning great games into great press conferences. This year, not so much. Let's talk about what happened on the Bethesda press conference. They started out with VR, which is something I was looking forward to from them, to be honest. Oh, I only got 2 actions. Attack, oh, that's a good deal. Now, Fallout 4 VR looked as you expect it to. Looked good. It would go about as well as you'd expect a Fallout VR title to look. But Doom VR, or Doom VFR, because hey, BFG VFR, it's a pun, haha. I don't know what they were thinking when they talked about the fact that they were thinking about making Doom for VR, because now they pretty much put themselves in a lock that they have to make Doom for VR, even though Doom should not be in VR, and here's the reason why. The reason the Doom reboot was so well received is because it went back to the classic way of Doom, and where it was fast-paced, it was more twitch shooter than horror like it was in Doom 3, and that's exactly what people wanted. Oh, 2 more actions. Am I gonna win this? I gotta heal. Oh well. But a lot of people like the new Doom because it was fast-paced, it was less about horror like Doom 3 was, it made it back to the kind of twitch shooter style that they know how to make. But that doesn't really transfer to VR very well, because here's your 2 situations. To make Doom VR, you either have to sit down with a controller and play at that fast pace and make 90% of your audience sick as fuck, because that whole thing, just like how I get it, there are a lot of people like me where if you're sitting down with all of that motion, especially fast motion, you get sick really quick. The only way around that is to do teleportation motion, which they showed off in the Doom VR gameplay that they showed, which was little snippets of it, but it looked bad. Doom does not play well when you're standing still. And that is all that teleportation is. It's standing still, jumping to the next spot, and standing still again. That's not how you play Doom, and that showed in their gameplay. But it's too late to back out now because they promised they were working on Doom VR. I don't know why. Hey, I won. I've still got more time to talk though, so I'll just keep rolling. You know what? I'll move over to the Wheel of Money machine to make this interesting since I've won. You know, my payout. There we go. You can finally get to see me win a jackpot here because I've been playing for way too long. Thank you. All right, it's a good amount of credits I won. And I broke 300,000. All right, there's a machine over here. Machine over here, yeah. We turn on 5 credits and just start spinning the wheel. Okay. So, Doom VR was a horrible idea, and I can tell already that when it releases, it's not going to get good reviews. Wow, I won the 150 already? Damn, good deal. Haven't spun yet, but so that's that. So VR, aside from Fallout 4 VR, fine. Doom VR, not looking fun. So let's move on to what they did next. They spent a lot of time talking about games that are already out. They talked about The Elder Scrolls Online Morrowind, already out. They talked about their trading card game, already out. So they didn't really reveal anything new there. They just kind of showed off games they were trying to advertise to more of their audience that might not have it. They barely showed the new Quake game. They just more talked about it as a potential esport with a little bit of gameplay. But once again, very minimal, just like with Fallout and Doom VR. Minimal gameplay. It was just a lot of announcement trailer-wise. And then we go to the tail end of their conference, because it was a fairly short conference. It was only about 40 minutes long. Oh yeah, I talked about a paid mod scene, which upset a lot of people, and if I was a console player, I would be pretty upset myself, because you can get mods for free on the PC and not have to worry about anything. But I get it, consoles gotta pander them, but also gotta make money, so that's a thing. But the way that they ended the conference with new things really upset me. They started out with the new Dishonored. I can't remember what it was called, but they showed the trailer for the new Dishonored, and everyone thought, oh hey, it's the Dishonored 2 DLC. But it's not Dishonored 2 DLC, it's a standalone game. There are still people that don't know that this is not DLC, because they didn't communicate it at all. Because at no point in the press conference, aside from the beginning and the end, did anyone walk out on stage. It was just a long video that was put together with a bunch of things. And Dishonored, they announced it, didn't talk about it not being DLC or standalone, didn't show any gameplay, and then it went to the Evil Within 2. It's a game that we expected, really. Once again, a long trailer, no gameplay. And then they brought out the trailer for the new Wolfenstein game, which we were expecting. A big trailer, but without any real gameplay. And that was it. All it was 3 trailers for 3 new games that we all actually kind of expected, but they didn't come out and talk about the game at all. They didn't talk about what the story's gonna be like in the game. They didn't talk about the gameplay. They didn't show how it was gonna work. They didn't show any gameplay for their new 3 games. The only gameplay they showed was the little bit of Quake in the middle of the esports and a little bit of the VR. But other than that, they didn't show us anything about the games. They didn't show us how they were gonna work. They didn't talk in depth like when they announced Fallout 4. They showed all of that gameplay about how it was gonna work with building the forts and all that stuff. They didn't show any of that for any of their new games. They just kind of, it looked like as if it was a month ago and like the E3 execs just kind of walked up and said, hey, E3's coming, you guys still want a press conference? And Bethesda was like, wait, E3's coming up? Oh yeah, we got all kinds of stuff. Yeah, we'll be there this year. And then as soon as the E3 execs walk out, they're like, all right guys, what the fuck do? We don't have anything lined up. It's like, everyone, make a trailer for your game, pump it out, render it, give it to me, we'll send it to them, hunky-dory, it's good to go. It was bad. In my opinion, that was the worst press conference that they could have had. They didn't show any gameplay for the new games, spent time focusing on games already out, showed off VR a little bit, but one game was not very VR ready. I know that there's going to be some Bethesda fans out there, they're going to be upset with my opinion on that, but as someone that sits in the middle that enjoys all kinds of games and looks at the press conferences to show what I'm getting into, I appreciate looking forward to, you know, the Evil Within 2 and a new Wolfenstein game and all that, but I want to see a lot of the games, but they didn't show me anything of their new games. And so I was like, you know what? That's a solid F right there. So Bethesda gets the award of worst press conference this year, and I think I've talked about it all now, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut this E3 review here. So, I want to thank you for watching. and I'll see you guys next time. But until then, this is Maskman, logging off.